and they try to take actions again to align their decisions and improve the business performance. Now this is called as typically one round of simulations where they get into making the decisions, analyzing, and again aligning the decisions to improve the business performance. And this is done, let's say, 3 times or 5 times in 1 day or 2 days program, which makes it highly interactive and highly engaging experience because they are able to now see what is happening basis their decisions that they are taking. Are they actually improving the performance of their business, or is it kind of not reverting? There's no effect which is happening in the out of this result. Over to you, Sona. Perhaps Sona is not getting me. Let me explain how does a typical training based on simulations look like. We essentially hand out the business environment document, which includes a lot of information about a particular business or on a hypothetical business, and it has reports on industry, competition, different types of consumers, the aspects of engineering, sales, marketing, network, etc. The participants are formed into 5 different teams, and each team is given virtual money worth 3,000 crores. And they are supposed to make mobile phones in that market and sell them at a profitable level. So then we give them the username and password to log on to a portal. Now on the portal, they get 4 different stages or 4 different aspects, which talks about product and price, marketing, sales and network, and production. So they are supposed to make decisions as if they are the owners of the company and make a product, give a pricing to it, do the marketing mix, media mix decisions, get into sales and network, open outlets at different geographical locations, and even go up to a situation where they open up a production plant also. Now, once each team makes these decisions in the system calculates the final business performance in terms of 5 balanced scorecard parameters, which are market share, volume share, cash balance, return on sales, and even brand image. All the teams they started at the same level of 3,000 crores cash in hand. They were same products they were supposed to make, but their outcomes basis their decisions is always different. So one team will be ranked number 1, one team will get a rank 5. Their stock prices, their cash balance, and every business situation will differ. And they get all these reports in their portal itself, which are income statement also, there's a cash flow statement, then they can also look at other business parameters that what is happening in the other teams. And then they get into analysis of this report and make decisions for the subsequent year or the subsequent round. This is typically known as one round of simulation, and in one day we conduct 3 rounds of simulation, or in 2 days we can go up to 5 rounds of simulations. Now what happens is that once they are given the opportunity to own a very huge amount for a period of 3 years and a company to run, the sense of ownership and responsibility which they get makes this experience highly engaging and very, very interactive and powerful at the end of the day. Second thing, because they start acting in teams and they are competing against each other within the same set of people itself, there's a lot of spirit of competition and teamwork which gets inculcated as a byproduct of the training. It's basically learning by doing and co-producing. The entire workshop, 80% of the workshop is actually produced by the participants themselves. It's only the debriefing initial, which is done by the instructor, and then the portal is handed over to the participants. They make the decisions, they get the reports, they start analyzing each and every number, and then they get into a strategic alignment and make those decisions again. And that's how they do it 3 times, and the entire workshop is practically produced by the participants themselves. While the responsibility of a good instructor is to make sure that their decisions are aligned and the instructor advises them to make right decisions or aligned decisions so that they get to a higher level of business performance. So essence of simulation method, if I have to close this first topic of discussion, is Benjamin Franklin once said, "You tell me, I forget. You teach me, I'll remember. You involve me, I learn." He forgot to mention, because there were no simulations at his time, that if you make me do it, I'll retain it forever. So the entire exercise of simulations based trainings makes the experience so engaging and powerful that the retention of the learnings happens over a very long time. And that's very normal for any kind of business simulation exercises. And that's why they are much more powerful than any kind of classroom training or any kind of role play method, because they touch upon all various business aspects. At the same time, you see the cause and effect relation in real time. You live 3 years of business in just one day program. So the strategy and the execution is happening in one very single day. It's like playing a 2020 match against what used to be a test cricket match for 5 days. Over to Shona.
Thank you so much for that, Saurabh. That was very enlightening. So now can you make us understand a little bit more about what business environment document looks like?
Yeah, this is the first element of the simulation program, and as a pre-engagement, we pass it on to the participants at least 3 to 4 days in advance, because it's got around 15 slides and it's very comprehensive and data-oriented document in the form of a presentation, which has a country report. It's a hypothetical world in which the entire simulation environment is built around. So there is demographics report, a geographical spread. There are 4 different geographical locations in this hypothetical country, which is not India, which is not Indonesia. Then there is economic outlook. Then there is a report on the industry, the competition, the 5 players who are playing against each other, the capital, let's say 3,000 crores which they have, and what is the investor's expectation when they are given 3,000 crores. What is he expecting out of this money from the participants? Then there's a lot of information about the consumer in terms of the segmentation, in terms of the income levels that they have, their habits, their attitude, their media habits. All of these reports are required because essentially they will be creating a product in the portal. And that's what we are going to show you after these slides. They will be actually deciding on the parameters of a mobile phone, and they will be able to see the cost of these parameters also, while the pricing will be decided by the team itself. Then they also get into marketing aspects. They will decide on the media budget, marketing budget, the media mix that they're going to do as it happens in the real world. Participants will also have a look into the sales aspects, the network aspects. What kind of, there are 4 geographical locations. How much does it cost to open a network at one particular location? How are margins and incentives to be decided? So there are boundaries given to all of these business parameters, and there are parameters related to even training of the manpower as well, and how to keep them motivated. And last aspect is on the production aspects. There are possibility to open 3 different types of plants, which each team is supposed to decide on their capital investment, their capital appetite, and how to actually run those plants to produce n number of mobile phones at minimal possible costs. So this is the essence of the business environment document, which participants receive 2 or 3 days in advance. And then on the day of simulation, we hand out the username and password and we make them log into the portal, which I'm going to show you now.
So thank you for that, Saurabh. That was quite an information that you provided us. So can you give us a live demo of a business simulation product?
Yeah, right now I have just shared the screen of business operations and strategy simulation portal, and I'm going to log in with my own ID. Now this is what participants, I have logged in as an instructor, but participants also see a very similar kind of a screen, wherein they will go to the decisions window. Now I'm going to project number 94, which we ran with Cortec recently. And there were 5 teams which were competing against each other. And therein we ran 3 rounds of simulation, which is year 2015, 16, and 17. So when I click at 2015, let us see that team 2 in this project, what kind of business decisions they were supposed to make. So these are the 4 new tabs which get opened up in the portal, which is on product price, marketing communication, sales and network, and production. And each team, so here team 2 they have decided in year 2015, which was the first round of simulation, that they will give a battery life of 100 to their mobile phone, and they are going to give a Bluetooth as an option. So they could have chosen a different parameter also, depending upon what they think about their target consumer. And once they press this update button, they see that how much it is going to cost as a company from material perspective. So they were getting a cost of 11,405 INR for these specifications. they decided the price to the market as 19,999. So they decided the product as if they are the chief product officer or chief R&D officer, and they decided the pricing as if they were the chief pricing officer also. Second thing which they see is the marketing and communication. In this tab, they are supposed to decide the total budget out of those 3,000 crores which they have for the 3 years period, how much amount they are going to allocate in this first year from marketing perspective. And then they do the marketing mix decisions, which are creativity, public relations, celebrity. So as a percentage of the budget, how much are they going to put in public relations, for example? They decided to choose 4% as the number. Then whatever is left as the budget, they decide on the media mix, how much money they are going to put on TV as a percentage of the budget that they have, how much on print, digital, POS, and others. These decisions are supposed to be aligned to the target consumer that they have, and the information about different types of consumers is given in the business environment case. So there's a lot of interaction happening between the business case which they have and the portal that they have at their hand to decide upon their marketing mix and media mix. And these are typical decisions which any chief marketing officer takes in his routine business. Getting on to the third tab, which is about sales and network. Participants decide that how many outlets they want to open at different geographical locations. So for example, this team in 2015 decided to open 3 outlets in metros, and in traditional they decided to open 15 outlets, and in rural they decided to open 120 outlets. And there are different costs associated with this number of outlets that they are opening. So they have to do a lot of budget allocation, budget resource planning that they have at their disposal, whether they should open more, they should open less, is their target consumer living in these geographical locations or somewhere else. And these typical decisions are taken by a chief distribution officer or a chief network officer from a very larger perspective. From sales promotion mix point of view, they will decide the distributor margin that they want to give, because the distributor also has to make money to run his business, how much corporate discount they want to offer, and there are costs associated with these percentages which are given in the business case. Last but not the least, they decide on the production levels. So there are options to open 3 different types of plants, or they can open actually 2 also in the first year if they like. And then they do the capacity utilization. For example, this team decided to open a plant A, which has a base capacity of 250,000 units. And they wanted to run at capacity utilization of 0%, which is equivalent to 100% additional capacity or over standard capacity. They also make decisions on the plant performance, which is quality of production, whether they want to increase manpower training, how many hours of trainings. And again, there are costs associated which are given in the business case to study and to decide and make an informed decision that if I was the chief production officer, whether I was going to give manpower training 40 hours or a 90 hours number, because 90 hours is going to cost me more, but it's going to probably give a production which is going to be higher than if I were to give only 40 hours per year. So with these decisions, which can be iterated, they can decide, they can play around with these numbers. They're going to spend 356 crores and they're going to get a production of 2,48,000 mobile phones. So these are the 4 different types of decisions that each team makes and submits to the portal. Once every team has given these decisions, submitted these decisions to the system, the portal decides the final outcome in terms of the business performance parameters, and that gets populated automatically in the reports section. So I go to the reports, then I go to the project, and I go to the same team number 2. So these teams basically get 3 different reports. First being the industry report, which has 5 balanced scorecard parameters. The first being market share by value. So this simulation, as you can see, it has run 3 rounds. So in the first year, there was a total industry turnover of 1,667 crores, out of which team 2 did 118 crores, which was 7.1% of the total value of the total turnover which happened in the market. So this is one balanced scorecard parameter, which is turnover share. Second being volume share. First year, the industry sold 12,78,000 mobile phones, out of which team 2 sold 4.6%. And then there is a number on the image share, there's number on cash balance, there is number on return on sales. So basis these 5 balanced scorecard parameters, there is a ranking which is given to the team, each team, and there is a stock price which starts moving from a base of 1000. So after first round of simulation, team 2 was standing at minus 374 points as opposed to 1000 at which they started initially. So this is one industry report which is common and available to each and every team. In addition to this, each industry, each competitor receives their own income statement also, which has income as well as cash flow statement. And it's a very basic statement. So they sold total worth around 118 crores with variable cost as 57%, making some gross margin, and the calculations on EBITDA, net taxes, and net earnings. And they also get to see their cash flow statement. Now, apart from that, the instructor has the capability to plot 22 different business parameters, which help them understand that what kind of effects their decisions had their own business performance. While these reports are available, in addition to that, they also get to see a lot of several other reports in the system, which are known as analytical reports. So let's say a simple parameter as price. If I have to choose that what was the price decision done by each company. So I chose these parameter as price and I try to plot a line graph. So the system throws up a number, a chart, which shows the price movement of all the companies that were playing against each other. Now this basically helps them understand that who is my core competitor, whom I should be actually pitching my product against, and a lot of other information that they get from these business parameters. This helps them analyze and make their decisions for the next round of simulation. So because of such an interactive portal, this makes the entire engagement and retention of business management concepts extremely strong, and this makes it a very, very powerful program. Over to you, Shona.
Thank you for taking us through the live demo of a business simulation product. So far, we have covered the concept of simulation. We have understood how a typical workshop looks like. We've also seen the business environment document, and we've just finished the live demo of a business simulation product. So Saurabh, if you could take us through what are the key learning objectives that gets addressed during the program, that would be a great help.
Certainly. As you have seen that the participants are obliged to make decisions on all different verticals. So it essentially gives them a very good understanding of an end-to-end view of business management, and which gives them more clarity that why in their own companies certain goals are decided and why and how each and every role is interconnected to each other. And that makes it really, really very powerful, and also brings in a lot of clarity from the perspective of running a business as a whole. Second, if you see that there's a lot of information which is given in the business case document, in the business environment document, and there are hardcore numbers or hardcore decisions which they have to take based on the data given in the system. These days we get a struggle because managers have a tendency to make a decision basis their gut, basis what they have experienced so far. But there is always a deficiency when it comes to making decisions based on data. And going forward, analytics, as we know, is going to be a very big thing in the market. Data-driven analytical decision making is going to be the key to more efficiency, to make businesses more efficient and more run them at higher efficiencies. So another very key important key learning objective is that it promotes data-driven analytical decision making, which is usually missing in large corporates. Third, we all talk about the importance of consumer in the entire value chain. Now, in this business environment document and the way the portal performs, it chooses a typical consumer with a typical company decision. Now, if those decisions are aligned with that particular consumer, there is higher profitability which gets generated in the portal, in the system. If the decisions are not aligned, even if somebody is spending a huge amount of marketing money, but the relevance of those decisions, of those marketing mix decisions, is not aligned to the target consumer, the system is just going to use that money, but it will not generate enough demand in the market. It will not generate enough profit in that particular business. So in a way, this program promotes this as a learning objective, consumer-centric strategic alignment. The better the alignment, the closer, the precise the alignment of each function, the better the profitability of this organization is. And as the participants go through first round of simulation, second, third, they start becoming more and more aligned to one particular consumer, and profitability starts coming into picture, and that's how they realize that it's the consumer-centric strategic alignment which is actually very important to bring in more profits for their business. Over to you, Sona.
Thank you so much for sharing the key learning objectives. So, Saurav, if you could highlight for us what are the key competencies which are getting addressed through this program, so that will make more sense for companies or clients to come forward and match it with their competencies matrix.
Sure. As the participants will be given 3,000 crores virtual money, of course it's not real, but they will be obliged to do a lot of budgeting and resourcing, that how they are going to use these 3,000 crores spread over 3 years, whether they are going to use 1,000 crore for production in the very first year, or they are going to reserve the cash for the future years because they don't want to take a high risk in the very first round of simulation. So there's a lot of budgeting and resource allocation which gets developed as a key competency. They will be doing it at least 3 times or 3 rounds of simulations. Second being marketing mathematics, where they understand the importance of calculating gross contributions for any kind of product or a service, and how to take the fixed costs out of that, and what remains is your net profit, and how to calculate break-even volumes, break-even values for their business performance parameters. So marketing mathematics is another key competency which gets developed as an outcome of this training program. Third, cost structure and pricing it right, which is also very critical because they will be deciding on several parameters which are adding to their costs. Even a training as a part of their decision is getting added up to the total product cost, either the direct cost or an indirect cost. So they are obliged to calculate the exact cost structure and do a pricing which is right, which creates enough profit for them. At the same time, it does not sound very pricey to the consumer, because if it sounds very pricey to the consumer, you might be making profit on one unit, but overall your sales number are going to get affected. So they get into they get into an understanding of cost structure and pricing any service or any product right. Fourth point being on sales and production planning, they will be doing a lot of projections on total sales that is going to happen for their company, and how are they going to make decisions on the production so that sales and production are exactly happening one to one. They produce just 1 unit more than their actual sales target, and hopefully they are selling it also. They don't underproduce, they don't overproduce, because if there's an overproduction, there is a penalty in the system. If there is underproduction, there is always a loss of opportunity. So they get into a lot of sales planning and production planning profile as well. And last but not the least, for a very sustained growth for any kind of business, it's not only market share which is important, it's not only return on sales which is important, or it's not only brand equity or brand image which is important. What is important is the overall balance scorecard, and they will be plotting and projecting their balance scorecards for 5 different parameters from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and they get into the habit of, and basis this weightage only, they get to score high, and they get to see that okay, they are number one. So one team which might be having a market share of as high as 40% might be still ranked as number 4, because they would have performed not very well on other business performance parameters, which are form of a balanced scorecard typically.
Thank you for
Over to
that,
you, Sona.
Saurabh. Yeah, thank you for that, Saurabh. So, is it specific to any industry or participants, or who could be largely, the target group for this business simulation program?
Honestly, it's not industry specific, because what it teaches is overall development of business acumen, overall understanding of running an end-to-end view of holistic business management. So it is not very typical to any kind of business industry or any kind of it's not designed for one particular industry, because industries, they have the business acumen to run their own business. But what sometimes lacks is this overall understanding and interdisciplinary skill set, which managers or senior managers don't seem to have. So as industries could be participants, white goods, FMCG, construction, food, pharma, banking, consulting, IT, ITS. So wherever there's a product and a service involved, they could be a recipient from an industry perspective. From the participants profile perspective, those who have been in the system for, let's say, around 5 years, handling one particular role for some time, they could become a recipient, up to somebody who has been in the system for around 15 years. ranging from a deputy manager level to a general manager level, coming from any background in engineering, production, marketing, sales, HR, because the entire essence is to give them a flavor of what happens to the adjacent functions that they are operating with. So this basically covers the entire gamut of any sort of function.
Thank you for this information, Saurabh. So we have covered the concept of simulation. We've seen how does a typical workshop looks like. We've also gone through the business environment document. We have also seen a live demo given by Saurabh on the product simulation. We have seen what are the learning objectives and the key competencies addressed. We've also seen the target audience. So, Saurabh, moving on, if you could just touch upon at least three business challenges this business simulation workshop addresses, and how does it help overcome these challenges? That will be very insightful.
Sure. We all talk about diversity in the talent portfolio, in the talent pool of managers. Uh, and we know the importance of diversity as well. It basically mitigates risk and brings an added value to any organization. However, when it comes to promoting diversity, the only way to go about is through job rotations, which are always very expensive, as well as employees don't want to take a risk of leaving their comfort zone and moving on to other zones because they don't know what is happening across. So once they experience this particular program, when they are actually acting as a chief marketing officer also, or as a production manager also, or at the same time a sales manager also, they understand and start valuing the importance of other functions and the value it brings to them as a profile. So it essentially promotes the job rotations. People after going through this training feel like moving to other functions, and hence it promotes diversity in the portfolio. Second, uh, there is always a problem that departments work in silos. We see that okay, salesperson will always blame that marketing guys don't work properly, or a marketing guy blaming engineering that we don't get products which we request, or we don't get those services which are supposed to be selling hot in the market. Now in this program, they actually act as one single entity. They are making decisions for production also, for engineering also, and then they start appreciating each other's function, and then they start actually cooperating also with each other at a much higher level than they were supposed to be doing earlier. So as a product, it as experience, it promotes interdepartmental cooperation as well. Last but not the least is the gap between strategy and execution. Typically, strategies of any organizations are defined for, let's say, 5 years, or short-term strategies for 1 year within 2, 3 workshops, while the execution happens over one full year. And the effect of this execution is not very clearly seen, that what was decided in the strategy and how it has been implemented, at what degree, at what percentage is actually being effective. But in the simulation portal or the simulation training program that we run, the strategy and the execution happens within 3 hours for 1 year, and then it happens for 3 different rounds. So the gap between strategy and execution, whether it is working, whether it is not going to work for them, is getting reiterated 3 times in just one day. So it's like 3 years of business being run in just one day, and trying to understand that how execution is so important and based to the strategy. So these three things basically get addressed as a business challenge, and it certainly opens up participants to think much, much beyond their current roles.
Thank you for this, Saurabh. So, what is in it for a CLO of an organization, if you were to put it like this?
Yeah, from cheap learning perspective, it gives you an opportunity to introduce innovation and technology in trainings. Simulations are not very common. I would say, maybe Sona can correct me if I'm wrong, the penetration is as low as 0.5% as a training tool. So it gives an opportunity to introduce innovations and technologies in trainings to any chief learning officer if they start using business simulation based trainings. Second, in this training program, as I talked about it earlier also, that participants co-produce the entire workshop. The engagement and retention is extremely high. There is hardly anybody who actually loses interest in this kind of a training program. It certainly improves a lot of participation and interest in the trainings. Otherwise, the I know it all syndrome basically gets killed in this particular program, and in fact participants miss out their tea breaks to be a part of this training and be making actively their decisions. Third, it helps any organization develop interdisciplinary skills and analytical skills in managers, as there's a lot of data-driven decision making which has to happen. There's a lot of number crunching which happens, even if it is marketing or HR or even sales. Everywhere they have to look into different kinds of numbers and analyze them in real time, and it helps them understand the value of data-driven analytical decision making as well. And last but not the least, as I talked about creating diversity in the portfolio, it helps a chief learning officer or an organization create leadership pipeline which is aligned finally to the corporate strategy of an organization. So we are very sure that this program offers an edge in your training calendar in 2016 if you give us an opportunity.
Absolutely correct, Saurabh. That's a wonderful piece of information. And in fact, there was an article very similar on these lines, as just Saurabh has mentioned. There's only 0.5 percentage of penetration as far as business simulation exercises or training tools is concerned. It was reflected in an article called Micro Training yesterday, which appeared in Times of India Ascent. So I would request, if anybody has not read it, please read that article. So moving on to what kind of generally it's been seen that market gets flooded with what's in it in kind of a trend now. So do you think it's the same with simulation trainings, or it has a long-term future or long-term impact on the whole learning and development environment of an organization?
No, it has certainly a very long-term aspect associated to it, because that's going to be the next big thing in learning and training divisions of any organization. There are certainly other products also which are there in the market, which are developed in either Europe or US, and they have different currencies altogether, not the INR. And there are certain limitations and there are certain edges also in those programs. But to me, attributes of a good simulation program are that it should always have a management theme at the core. It should not sound like a game or a puzzle. In our program, for example, the core theme is consumer-centric strategic alignment. So, and if it is run like a simple game, then it becomes like a computer game which is not valued at all, or like a puzzle. Second most important parameter is that I have seen a lot of simulations developed in Europe which are extremely complicated. So complicated that their business environment document runs into 68 pages of a Word document, which is impossible for any person or any participant to absorb, even if it is done over a 7 days of a training program. They were developed as a program for teaching business management, which is done over a period of 6 months. They can't actually take up the shape of a corporate training program. While the product that we have at hand is extremely simple, comprehensive, but at the same time very challenging. It's very difficult to make money. In a lot of programs which I have done, teams finally don't even turn up positive after 4 rounds of simulation, while some teams actually make a reasonable amount of money. So it's very challenging, very comprehensive, but at the same time simple to understand. It's not complicated. Third, there should always be a relation with the industry best practices. Whatever decisions have been designed in the system are actually reflecting the industry best practices, how to decide marketing mix, how to decide media mix, what are the key parameters to run a production plant, or how do we actually decide on the cost and benefit analysis of a product, or to make even decisions on HR like trainings and others. And everything is associated with numbers and costs, and essentially it is touching upon the industry best practices, and it's not only theory. So I think these are the three good attributes of any good simulation program, and honestly it is best delivered by a person who actually creates it. Somebody delivering a program borrowed from someone in US is, from my perspective, is not a best idea, because at the end of the day simulations are very difficult to create and very difficult to carry and very difficult to actually moderate a session on simulations based trainings.
Thank you for that information, Saurabh. Now, would you take us through the pre-program or the post-training support or assessment, and how do we measure the transformation achieved the during the training program?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. As a pre-training, the business environment document, which is around 16 slides, which has all those informations which I showed in one single slide, with a lot of numbers and data that is given out to the participants so that they come prepared. Otherwise, there's at least 45-50 minutes which are required to run through that. So we avoid and use the day to do more efficient business decision rather than just understanding the business case itself. So that is given 3 days in advance. Also, we hand out the username and password to the participants so they get acquainted with the portal which you have just seen, so that again there is no time which is wasted during the day of the training itself. To assess that where do these participants actually stand before the start of the training, we give them 20 multiple choice questions on management concepts like I talked about, costing, like I talked about marketing mathematics and so on, just to gauge that where do they stand before the training. Post training, there is always an action plan on the key learnings that they had from the session. How are they actually going to think about a job rotation, or they are looking at changes in their personal career or their personal growth plan. So we try to assess that. After 2 weeks, we typically run a instructor-less round wherein they run the last year of the business again, last year of the simulation once more, because that gives them an opportunity to that gives us an opportunity to see that whether they are able to retain or whatever have been told to them or not. So they rerun the simulation after 2 weeks again, and then we pose them 20 new multiple choice questions on the same management concepts which were discussed during the workshop. And these management concepts can always be customized to the particular industry or to the particular target audience basis the directions from the chief learning officer. And with these steps, we are able to evaluate and assess the effect of the training as an outcome. And needless to say that the participants keep the access to the portal for approximately 2 months post the training, so that if they want to revisit their decisions, and they can always download different reports in the form of a PDF if they like. So everything is available for their access for a period of 2 months.
Thank you, Saurabh. So we have covered largely the whole objective of the webinar. Coming to last few remaining things that we need to touch upon. For example, what are the logistics requirement that we would need to run a training program if we choose to do it internally? So Saurabh is going to share with us the logistics requirement.
Yeah, it's very simple. Ideally, a workshop with 20 participants with 5 rounds of simulation is conducted over 2 days, or 3 rounds in one-day program. They essentially need to carry the business environment document as a PDF with them. We don't ask them to bring out the printouts. We don't believe in burning more trees any. They also get, we also need to have one projector, 5 laptops with high-speed internet, because they'll be working in teams and they will be making decisions on the portal on the laptop. So that is very much required with high-speed internet connection. The username and passwords that will be distributed 3 days in advance. So very minimalistic preparation which is required to conduct this training program. And this can be done from remote locations as well.
So thank you so much, Saurabh. I would just refresh. I think some people have just joined 5-10 minutes ago. So we've covered the concept of business simulation. We have understood what a typical workshop looks like. We have understood what business environment document is, which is kind of a pre-workshop document which everybody gets 2 to 3 days in advance of the training program. We've also seen the live demo of a business simulation product. We've seen the key learnings, objectives. We've also understood the key competencies which can be addressed through this training program. We have understood the kind of industries it is beneficial for, the kind of participant profile which it is targeted at. We've seen how it covers the 3 most important business challenges and what it gives to the CLO, that is the Chief Learning Officer of an organization, or as an organization in general. We have covered how the market is getting flooded due to these trends going on. So business simulation is here to stay and deliver the utmost agile training program as ever been created. We also have taken you through our pre and post training assessment, how we measure the transformation, how we measure your ROI. We have also seen the logistics requirement for these training programs. So if any of the attendants have any questions, please, you may put up in the chat column that you see down there, or you could just ask us through the question button you have in your webinar portal. We can answer your question and answers now. So I guess, sort of, we don't have any questions coming in from the participants. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
Once again, thank you to Saurabh Grover. Thank you to all attendees who have attended our webinar. We look forward to your support. We look forward to your queries. In case you don't have any queries right now, please feel free to write us. Our email address is, you can address it to me, Sona, SONA, @Genesis, GENESIS, events, EVENTS, India.in. Your queries are more than welcome, and Saurabh is going to be available to answer your queries or give any other expert opinion which is required. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.